Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Wow. Good. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We're waiting on our lovely
Yeah,
Nicole.
yes. We're waiting on Nicole. She's been invited to join, so we'll give that a second. But oh,
Beautiful.
yes.
It's nice to virtually meet you. I'm
Nice to
excited to be kicking this off. I feel a little responsibility here.
yes, the very first one. Yeah, we're excited. Yeah. We're figuring out the technical things too. I haven't done a Zoom, or not even, it's not Zoom, an Instagram Live with three people. So this is going to be really fun.
Hey, start. It's amazing how we can now get together virtually. There
Hi.
he
Yes.
is. Good to see you from afar.
Hello.
I feel like I haven't seen you and Nicole in person in so long.
It's been a really long time.
I don't want to think about it. I'm gonna cry.
Ugh, I can't even believe it.
But we're here. I'm so excited. What a nice
I know. This
I
is
was just
cool.
I was just telling
Thanks for
everybody.
having us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us. So lovely to meet you both. We're Eli's in the comments down there. We're excited to bring the live artist series to Instagram, and so honored to have you guys as our very first guests on that. And yeah, I'm excited for what this time holds for us. So if we want to just get started, if you guys can just tell everybody a small introduction, a little bit about yourself, where you're based out of, and what role you play on set typically.
You can go first, Tracy, if you
Oh,
want.
Nicole, she's letting me take the floor. Okay, yes. My name is Traci Hayes. I am a director from Northern California, and I've been in Los Angeles for the past 12 years making films, commercials, and television. And you know, I was going to say, where did I was going to go into how I met Nicole, but I feel like I that was a very quick introduction. But I'll leave that. I'll stop myself.
Oh, okay. I'm Nicole, and I guess I kind of do everything. I don't know. I mean, besides direct, so I act and write and produce.
Amazing. And you're both out of Los Angeles?
Yes.
Yes.
Now. Yep.
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah,
originally from Las Vegas, but yes, I've lived here forever now, so.
awesome. And how long have you been in the film industry, and where did you get your start? A lot of times when, you know, as filmmakers, if you're doing everything, what drew you to filmmaking and how did you start?
Well, for me, I mean, I moved here. I'll just take it, Tracy. I moved here when I was, God, 19 or 20 from Vegas, and I moved here to act. And then I had several other jobs along the way to do that. But my first job, I was a stand-in for Demi Moore on A Few Good Men, and that sort of happened all by crazy, like, coincidence, accident. I mean, I was a second PA first. I moved out here. I had a job on a movie, so that was really the catalyst to get me to come to Los Angeles, because I had a movie locked into place where I was going to be a production assistant. So I started in pre-production, and then I was a second AD, and this movie had George Clooney in it, and I forget who else. A woman named Diane Salinger, and I was like driving around scripts to everybody, dropping them off when there was a Thomas guide. You probably don't even know what a Thomas guide is.
I do not. What is the Thomas Guide?
It was before Google Maps.
Oh,
And you would have to do a grid and match the grid to the location on the map, and then you turn the page again and it would give you directions of how to get to wherever you were going in LA. And I remember I was just like crying
oh
because
no.
I had no idea where I was or how to get anywhere, and people were waiting for the script, and it was just such God, it feels like 100 years ago. So that was, yeah, that was the catalyst, and that's how it all started. And then somebody on the movie was like, "Oh, you look like Demi Moore," and I was like, "Thank you." I mean, it's such a compliment. And and then he was like, "You should probably go. My friend owns this agency for lookalikes." And I was like, "I would never ever do that, but thank you." Cut to the movie ended. I had no job. And I found his number in a thing, a pile, when I was cleaning my apartment. And I was like, I need a job. I'm like, well, let me go see what this is about. So I went in to that agency and left my picture and resume. And literally the next day I got a call. And I was like, well, what's this for? And they were like, I don't know, just go down to Culver Studios. So I went down, Culver Studios, walk onto the set, have no idea. I'm asking the casting director, and he just laughed at me, you know? So I'm like, and then I walk in, it's courtroom, and it's Rob Reiner and the producers of that film. And they're like, looked at me, you know, and they're like, yeah, she's good, she'll work. And I'm like, what is this for? To like the other, and then I found out. So that was sort of the very first, like, really big, sort of exciting thing I ever did.
Wow.
That's cool.
It's so funny. I didn't even know the whole story, Nicole.
Well, and then I ended up actually training her daughters, which is even crazier. So that's like a whole other thing, who are awesome and lovely.
It sounds like a lot of it is following where the work is when you're first starting out. Was that true for you? Or, you know, like you went from one thing to acting, or was there something that you were particularly drawn to initially?
I mean, you know, I wanted to act, and I loved acting and dancing, and I grew up in Las Vegas, so I grew up watching those shows at Caesar's Palace because my mom was a camera girl. So she was a single mom, so every night I would go to work with her, and I'd sit on the side of the stage and just watch these shows growing up. And I just kind of thought that that's what everybody did, maybe. I don't know. So I thought, I actually didn't. I moved to New York first, then I moved to LA. I feel like I'm talking too much, Traci. And
okay.
And then I ended up staying a weekend, and then I went back to Vegas, came back again because I had more friends in Los Angeles, and finally got the balls up enough to say, I'm going to move to LA. Boy, very blindly, I might add.
Wow.
But I do it again.
That, Nicole. It's so funny how I've known Nicole since 2014, and I didn't know a lot of that. It's so interesting. I love it. Learning so much.
And there's more, but I don't want to keep talking. I want Traci to have
on the subject of your origin story, Traci, how did you get started in the industry?
You know, I've always been drawn to visual storytelling from a very, very young age. I think I was innately enamored with the photos in the book. I couldn't read when I was a kid. I have dyslexia, so I think I was always drawn to the pictures in the books and not necessarily the words. And I think I took that, that was sort of the breadcrumb to sort of propelling me into this creative space where I truly enjoyed, going to every Friday night, having movie nights with my family. And, we'd go to matinees of a lot of theater productions, like, local community theater. And I grew up actually watching stage productions, and one of the first ones I remember seeing, I think I was 8 or 9, was The Wizard of Oz. And I didn't realize that there was actually a movie. I mean, obviously by that time there was a movie also that had been made, and I had never seen it. And I asked my mom, and she said, yeah, there's this movie. So I watched it, and I immediately fell in love with this visual storytelling where Dorothy kind of steps from her black and white world into color. And that was sort of this moment of, like, I was so enamored and curious about the visual language. And that was sort of the first stepping stone to kind of leading me down that road to storytelling. And then I would say I was about 15 years old, and I had dabbled with film on my VHS, those big cameras my parents had. And I was watching behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings. I had never really seen what it meant and how to make a film. I think there was just this sort of magic behind it, and to see somebody actually putting it together and building a world, and a world that I really enjoyed, was such a profound moment for me when I realized, I'm like, that's what I want to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't even know what a director does, but I want to do that. And so when I turned 16, I enrolled in my first community college film class, and learned how to shoot on 16 millimeter film. And cut to college. I applied to go to film school. I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. And so 13 years ago, I moved to Los Angeles to go to film school at Chapman University, and studied directing and worked with some incredible people that I'm still working with to this day. Actually, the cinematographer of our film that we'll talk about in a little bit also went to Chapman. And so there was this connection and curiosity that led me, obviously, to want to be a filmmaker. And now I'm been fully freelancing as a director, and thanks to The Wizard of Oz. So, yeah.
I love that. In the behind the scenes of the Lord of the Rings is just, that was also an inspiration to me as like somebody who wanted to get into the industry. So it's cool to see how, we find our inspiration and then go from there and explore. Nicole, were there things for you that were, whether it was certain actors or maybe what you saw in Las Vegas, or certain films that you drew inspiration from?
Well, I just want to say, when you said The Wizard of Oz, it reminded me of when and where I saw The Wizard of Oz was at the theater inside of the MGM Grand Hotel. As a kid. I mean, it doesn't get more Vegas than that. But yeah, and they had like real big leather plush booths, and they had a cocktail table in front. And you would press the red button and the cocktail waitress would come, and I would drink Shirley Temples. And that was my first time, seeing that film. And of course, I was just mesmerized.
Such a great film. Yeah.
But, all the movies that I grew up watching were films like Midnight Cowboy, or, and I just missed like all of those actors, I feel like, or I'm blanking right now. That just popped into mind because I thought of Dustin Hoffman. And I don't know why, but he's amazing. Rayman. I remember seeing Good Morning Vietnam with Robin Williams, and just, then Good Will Hunting, all of those films, really inspired me. And then, in the comedy front, like I love 10, Victor Victoria, all of these old fun comedies, Foul Play with Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn, which I actually re-watched a couple of weeks ago. And it still, holds up. And I remember loving it as a little girl. And it's just so random and funny. And, it's just, if you haven't watched it, I suggest you do. It's funny. So I mean, those kinds of things. And then all the performers I saw growing up, which were like, Joan Rivers and Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. and Margaret and Cher. Then the Broadway production of 42nd Street, that came to Las Vegas for a whole summer.
Wow.
So every single night I would go. And I mean, I knew all the words to the entire production. I knew all of Joan Rivers' jokes, Diana Ross. I mean, it's just sort of endless, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of people right now, but so I just always was mesmerizing to me, and how people did that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love 42nd Street, and I love how a lot of the things that you said were also comedy, and like the humor, and a lot of performances and timing, and there's a lot to be drawn from that, especially crossing media and going from stage to film. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab a water. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
It's so interesting. It's definitely the common thread. I didn't realize for us, having a background in theater, obviously, her in front of and on the stage, and I was always like behind it, like opposite in the audience. So, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm forgetting something, but
Yeah, we were talking about inspiration. So if anything pops up, feel free. We could, we're just talking here, and the goal of this series, and it's wonderful once again that we're kicking it off, is we're sharing too from your journey as filmmakers, because there's a lot of people who are listening and who will be watching this on a recording who are either just starting out in the industry or they're on that journey, and we love showcasing your stories for them to learn from as well. So
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of those.
Every story is different. Every story is different. Everybody. I think it's so funny and fascinating how it's like, yeah, we all end up in the same place, and how we got here is so different.
So amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as continuing on that story and that journey, we talked a lot about kind of starting out. Now, just kind of looking back on your career so far, what are some of the biggest things or the proudest moments of things that you have accomplished in your careers?
Oh.
Do you want me to go?
I'm like, well, thanks. Yeah, it's been I feel like career so far. I mean, I feel like I'm in a constant state of learning and exploring, and there's never enough time to learn something. It's for me, I feel like whenever I step on set, I feel like I'm in a way the first day of school all over again, because there's a new environment with new film, new dynamic, new people, new problems to solve. And but I'm so grateful. I think there's definitely been some moments in my career so far that I'm grateful, and I think it started with my mentors in college. I had some incredible mentors, Martha Coolidge and Randall Kleisler, and Mel Cooper and John Badham, all fantastic directors and set decorators. I worked with Larry Paul, who production designed Back to the Future, who unfortunately isn't with us anymore. But I got a really firm sort of foundation from them, and then going into just the workforce, I felt a little more prepared. But I think people gave me opportunities pretty quickly. I think most recently, I directed my first feature this past year. So that's been a pretty big stepping stone and elevation for me. I signed with a new agent about 2 years ago, Karen Kirkland at Culture Creative. So that was a big sort of moment. I mean, there were so many moments leading up to ultimately directing my first feature and signing with an agency. And I could spend, longer than we have time to talk about those moments. But I think through the connections that I've met over the years, I think being able to make, basically finish the film, get distribution on Amazon, and working on the next thing. So yeah, I mean, that to me, that's the most current biggest moment for me anyway.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's so awesome, Traci. I mean, for me, I think it was 40-ish, just having that sit around for a while with all the writing that I had been doing, and then having our other producer who's not here with us, Caitlin Renee Campbell, telling me that I should make it, and her sort of being the catalyst to pushing me forward to doing that. And then actually doing it, the whole part of like trying to figure out how to get the money, and and doing an Indiegogo, which I was so super against, but she really sort of made me go out of my comfort zone, which was great and scary, you know, because I'm not good at raising money. That's just not my, you know, forte. But getting people to do things and pull favors and that kind of stuff, I'm really good at. So, but yeah, but then actually like having the date set, getting the locations, doing all of that. And then I remember, and I've talked about it before, but I had this moment like maybe the week before we started shooting, and I'm like, I'm like in every scene of this, you know, going, I haven't even studied my lines, you know, and going, I hope I can do this. And I remember calling Traci like the 2 days before shooting or the night before shooting, going, can you just come over and talk me through this monologue?
It was so commendable, because I think you took not only did you take on multiple roles for 40-ish, the short film, but you were writing from a vulnerable place and things that you had actually experienced along the way, in show business. And I think as women all here together, it's, that was something that really was so admirable to because unfortunately it's more common than it should be. But I think, to write something so personal, and then to find the courage to go, oh, let me actually make this and not just hide it and keep developing it for the next 20 years and never actually making it. So.
Which is where it was headed, but because of Caitlin,
but
I was like, well, who's gonna want to, I don't know, but then and I wanted to not make it like a woe is me sort of situation, because I feel like it's very relatable. Like Traci said, we've all had this experience in one way or another, and this is just my version. And I wanted to try to and it was also, it's like, you can't make this shit up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just that over the top sometimes. Now, it's not like those things happened every single day, but over the years, there were those moments where you're like, I can't believe this is actually happening, So for me, it was definitely doing 40-ish. That was really, it was fun. And I remember walking on the set the first day, and I looked around and everybody was moving and carrying the apple boxes and cameras, and Traci's like whoosh, whoosh. Everyone's kind of going by, and I looked around and I'm like, oh my God, this is like a real movie. I'll never forget that. And it was so much fun. We all had such a blast doing it. It was a great set.
It was shot, it was shot in the heart of Hollywood where the film takes place. And I think there was such an authenticity to, obviously, to be able to make a story like that and actually film on Hollywood Boulevard at Stella Adler, where like there's so much history. Not, because you're making a movie about show business and you're filming at one of the most iconic acting schools in all of Los Angeles. It was pretty surreal, because you're just like, there's so many struggles, and everyone's going through their own problems, and I think it was just to shoot on Hollywood Boulevard and shoot up to the palm trees. Like, I remember that shot so specifically, the opening of the film. And when I read the script initially, I was like, oh man, like we have to get these iconic, like what is Hollywood like, what do people, what does it look like in front of the glamour, but then really what's going on car like when you're screaming, because of traffic, and you're not getting that role, and because of, oh, you're too young, you're too old, you're too fat, you're too skinny. It's just, that's a lot of pressure to take on. So
and stay sane. Somewhat sane. Somewhat.
And what's crazy is we shot this film in 2019, and there was no, it was just a normal approach, and then COVID came, and then we did our festival run virtually, which was such a shame. But it was bizarre, because you had this, we went into this production, with it just being a normal everyday life, and then to go into post, and then obviously I'm very grateful how well the film did, but it was just a very different experience, going into 2020. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's like the good and the bad of that, because we got a lot of time to do the editing because there were no
Yeah.
film festivals at first. So we really got to go through like every single moment, every single take. So that was great, because I probably on a normal year wouldn't have had the time to do that because of my day job.
Yeah.
But so that was great. And then the bad thing though was like, festivals who were normally taking 300-400 films, now they were not really sure what they were doing. They weren't even doing festivals, or they were taking 100 films,
Yeah.
So that was kind of hard to swallow. But at the same time, I also didn't want to wait a whole year either, So
Right.
Yeah, get out in the world. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did the situation with the film festivals, did that make any difference in the reach of the film, whether that was virtual festivals that were further away or a wider reach elsewhere, or was it just kind of hard not being in person?
it was hard for me not being in person, personally, and we still haven't had a real proper Los Angeles premiere. Like the first film it got into was it was the LA Comedy Festival, like right off the bat, but they've postponed and postponed because of everything, and they're like, we're gonna have it. I emailed them maybe like a couple weeks ago, just curious to know, because we still haven't had a proper Los Angeles screening. So I don't know.
I think it depends on like ultimately what the filmmaker's goal is with their project. Like, and I think for us it was like, obviously the more exposure, the more people that can see it, the better. And I think in some ways virtual screenings allowed that for more people to come from around the world to watch your film. But on the other hand, I think the personal connections and getting the sort of, because this is because 40ish is ultimately a comedy. I mean, to sit in the audience and be able to interact with your audience and really hear where they're engaging and where the laugh. I mean, like that's the ultimate, like, as a filmmaker, like that's the ultimate like addiction, is to see your audience like engaged with your film. It's something that you've worked on. And I think we recently had that. I went to one festival for our film, and I was like, oh my gosh, people thought this was funny, and you like don't. I'm like, I don't know if it's funny anymore. You hope it is, but you watch the same thing like 40 times, and you're like, I don't know. So I think most filmmakers would probably agree that they'd rather see their film in person on a big screen, and not on some like online little, Zoom box where the quality isn't as good. I think there's something, maybe I'm too much of a purist, but I would rather see it on the big screen.
I think there is a beauty to what is filmmaking, or what is watching and experiencing that as a media, sitting in a dark theater and just being part of the experience. So
yeah, it's a
I'm with
collective
you there.
experience. Yeah, 100%. I'm like, yes, for sure. So
Well, what's next for 40ish then? Are you still in the film festivals? Are you, is it something that people can see soon?
I mean, I think it's still doing some festivals for sure, because I know that there were some that there was a pause on, that they weren't able to submit to. So I think there's still a big handful of festivals throughout the course of this year, and maybe even one for next year. Recently, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
We don't know yet. But no, and I've written a couple other projects that I really want to do. So one is it's the same characters or the same lead character, but what happens after in her life. And then I also have another idea about the same character and what happens after the ending of the film, like literally what happens after the ending. Because I don't.
The short.
Yeah, the short.
Right.
So, and then I've had this project that I've been working on for forever that I did a rewrite on. and it's called Vegas Girl. And I, you know, it's just been like a monkey on my back. And I've
Yeah.
been just, you know, it was my first thing I ever wrote. And it's just been through so many different ups and downs and roller coasters. And, you know, one of my clients is really interested in it. So, and I did this rewrite over the holiday. I had this idea and I was just kind of like, fuck it. Sorry, I'm going to do it. And I spent like November and December and I just wrote and wrote and wrote and completely rewrote it. And for me, I felt like it's the best thing I've ever written. And I was so excited. I'm still so excited about it. But it's just hard. Like after you write one thing, like I'm so eager to get the comedy that I want to do with Traci going, which is
Yeah.
called The Egg and I. And it's also about getting pregnant at a older age, you know, and also the things you have to face and the insanity of IVF and, you know, trying to find sperm and a partner and all of those things. So it's a romantic comedy, but you know, it takes place in Hollywood too. So it's quite funny, I think. I don't know, and that's also had a rewrite too, Traci. So anyway,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
um,
For both of you, I'm curious how you choose your projects. And if you write all of your own things, that would be also kind of choosing the themes and what types of stories you like telling.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, you know, I normally work with writers. I don't consider myself a writer director. I work with some incredible writers, including Nicole, sitting next to me virtually. But I would say that I've been very fortunate to, over the years, connect with some incredible women writers, actually specifically. And so you know, for me, when it comes to picking a project, whether I guess it's different if it's my idea, but when I'm sent scripts or projects, I have to connect with the material. And I don't think I think it's really a gut reaction that I'm just following my instincts and my gut. And it's how open they are to the rewriting process or where they're at. Like if I'm getting a script, where they're at in the process, and can I collaborate with these people, and do I want to enter into this long-term essential relationship with this person or these people? And you know, it comes down, for me, it's like it has to be a great, you know, it's like the story and how am I, you know, the vibe or the spirit of a person essentially, and you know, the sort of people attached to it, like where is it going to go, like is there financing attached, like what's getting me excited about a project. So for me, I'm looking, you know, most of my films that I've made in the past, you know, are all centered on female characters. There's sort of this central theme of mystery or sort of a big, you know, moment that they have to make in their life, that they're, whether they're on the fringe of society or you know, somebody that we don't see a lot on the screen, that we haven't, you know, topics that, like in 40ish, when we're dealing with somebody who's in, you know, trying to break in at an older age. And for me, I really want to tell that female experience and that gaze, and especially with underrepresented voices, and you know, being, you know, having, you know, looking at, you know, people with disabilities. I mean, there's so many. For me, I don't fit into one box about I'm only doing these kinds of films. I think there's a lot of things I want to say, and I'm just feel like I'm just getting started in that way. So yeah, I mean those. I mean, and then when I'm developing projects, it's just something that I can't get out of my head, and I keep thinking about it. And those are the kind. That's when I know it's a great idea, that I need to really pursue it farther. When I'm, you know, can't go to, like, I think just this past week I was thinking about something, and I just couldn't sleep all night. So I know that it must have been a good enough idea to keep me up all night, where I'm like, I guess I need to work on this. You know, so yeah, that's me.
I love that. Nicole?
Yeah.
um, it's funny because I did another short film of like I don't even know how many years it's been. It was called Captain, and my friend wrote this short story, and he was also the one who was like, I want to make a short film. So we produced it ourselves and we did it. But I remember I had this feeling of when I did that, and And it came out fine and funny, you know. But the freedom of being able to choose what you want to work on and then creating that yourself is super empowering. It's just, and it's fun and it's limitless. And I had that sense or that feeling, and I wish I didn't wait for 9 years to do, you know, the 40-ish after, or however many years, but you know, whatever. I did 40-ish. And again, that first day on the set, when I looked around and I was like, oh my God, this is like really happening. I just was like, this is all I want to do. You know, I just want to do, at least for now, my next 3 projects myself, you know, stuff that I've written that I like, that I want to tell these stories, you know, and I feel like these stories are relatable because I know I'm not, and there are also things that are so painful that I had been through. So by sharing those stories, I hope, because I know if I watched the Egg and I, which is the next movie I want to do with Traci, if I was able to watch that during what I was going through, I think it would have made it less painful to know, like, oh, this is something she went through too. And that, you know, there are those similar movies out there, but of course I think mine's a different take on it all, you know. So yeah, there's just something super empowering, and it's just freedom, and I love having that freedom. I love being able to just, it just feels like, you know. And it's so much better. No disrespect to like going to read for 1 line or 2 lines, but I did that a lot. And it's just also, you know, it's like when it's like 1 or 2 lines, it's, you know, I'm the white girl. There's 8, you know, there's all these, you know, it's just, it's a crapshoot, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, you know. And I just always felt like there was more than just 1 line for me, you know, that I would like to do and work in, and, you know, like theater, like Tennessee Williams, or what, you know, whatever. And that's why I still go to acting class. You know, I still love working on the old classic plays, Arthur Miller and all of those things. And that's actually how Traci and I met, in class with Larry Moss.
2014. I remember that. It was like it was yesterday. But because that's a big thing, I think, as an artist, understanding, especially, you know, directing actors. It's like having a common language is so important. And so that's how we met, in an acting class, and I was auditing it. I was not brave enough to be on the stage, let's put it that way.
Well, lots of directors audit Larry's class.
They do.
Yeah, it's like a common thing.
Best kept secret. No, it's not so much a secret, but no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
But yeah, I don't want to wait to be chosen anymore. You know, it's just like, you know, I just want to do my own projects.
I think that's the greatest takeaway from today, is like, take an initiative and not waiting for anything, and sort of making your own opportunities. And I think that's a lot to contribute to our success, and how Nicole and I ended up obviously making this short together, and our separate journeys getting to just where we are today, and having this sort of mentality of you know, just putting in the extra work, and you know, taking initiative and doing a lot of it now, a lot of it ourselves. But I say that to say that it's such a collaborative process. You know, the two of us wouldn't be here without the many people that have given us opportunities, and the safe space to create, and to, you know, expand our, you know, how we tell stories. So I mean, it's obviously, at the end of the day, very collaborative art form, but yeah.
Awesome. So we can keep talking until the end of the hour, and I invite everybody who's watching to feel free to submit some questions. We're here to answer them. If you have any questions for the Q&A, just drop some questions for us. But I love what you just said in terms of really good advice for people who are trying to figure out what to do, to take initiative, to tell their own stories. What other advice do you have if somebody came to you and they're like, oh, I'm just getting started, like, is it fresh minds who are like, I like dream of Hollywood, or I want to tell my stories. Do you have anything else for them in terms of advice to pass along?
Besides wait, or don't wait to get chosen.
I mean, that's beautiful advice. If you, I think that's the most powerful takeaway. I agree with that.
I think one thing I would say is, don't let anyone tell you that you're too young or that you're not experienced enough. You have a unique voice, you have a unique point of view that no one else in the world has, and your voice matters. So.
I love it. For your own journeys, we talked about how you started out, what's going on now, what's next. I know you talked about some of your future projects, but if you saw like 5 years from now, where do you want to be? What do you want to be working on?
5 years. Well, I guess what's next? I could probably answer that more succinctly than 5 years from now. Obviously, there's the goal, the mission that I'm on personally. But in terms of what's next, I've been reading. I'm meeting with a lot of people. I've been reading a lot of scripts. I've attached myself to a number of projects, and Nicole and I obviously are working on the egg and I and trying to, navigate what's next for that. But for me, I've just been focused on, my agent and I are just lots of general meetings. I've been applying to a number of directing programs for film and television. And I have a supernatural thriller and a coming of age script that are currently out to production companies right now. So I'm not sure which one's going to take first. Obviously, I'm excited for all of them. But I love that I'm reconnecting with so many people and meeting new people that I haven't had a chance to meet with in person. It's been a lot of obviously Zooms in the past couple of years, but I'm just in a very exciting place of finding the next thing. So yeah.
For me, I want to see this through. I want to make the egg and I, basically I just want to keep doing more, really, and hopefully finding more stories or having more ideas come to me as they do, to be able to write, getting inspired more from whatever it is, if it's theater or going to New York and seeing some plays or some more personal things that I experience. I love writing about them. So, but hopefully in the next 5 years, I'm going to have both of these movies done.
Amazing. Yes.
Yes.
Love that.
Where can people go to learn more about you, about 40ish? Can you direct everyone here to whether it's a website or your own Instagram pages? Where should they be going to keep in touch with what you're doing?
But I mean, I think 40ish is on Instagram at 40ish, the short film. And I'm Nicole Stewart, LA. And those would be, I guess, the places to see what's happening, or because I know everything's posted all the time of if we get into a festival or where that might be. And what else, Traci?
Well, the trailer, if you want to watch the trailer, it's on, I have it on my website, which is just my tracihays.com. It's my first and last name. And there's the trailer. some behind the scenes photos, which is fun. And then all my other work, obviously portfolio over the years, is also there. The same as my, obviously where we're talking right now on the space of the Instagram. But yeah, I mean, I think, it's the best way to stay connected, obviously, seems to be Instagram and good old social media. But yeah, that's where
And
we're at.
IMDb, 40ish is on IMDb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Film Freeway, I think, has the list of awards and things, selections that it's gotten into.
Well, something that might be interesting that we didn't talk about this evening, I'm just thinking about it, Nicole, is that actually she had submitted, was it the short or the feature script into festivals before she made the short film?
The short, I did
You
submit the
did.
script to
Yeah,
a few, and it won a few awards. So I did that because, you have your inner circle read it, and everyone's usually really supportive, most people, and you ask the questions, do you think I can make this, blah blah blah. And so anyway, I did do that, and then for validation I wanted to just submit it out to, I think I did maybe 5 festivals, just to see what other people's feedback was, or if they got it, or if they didn't get it. And then it won like I can't even remember, but it got into about 3 of those 5 or 3 of those 4 festivals that it was submitted to, and it won 2 awards. So then I was like, okay,
and let's make this short. Let's make this short.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that something you recommend to other writers, to submit scripts to festivals?
I mean, for me, I like that, because then for me, I know that somebody else is getting the humor or getting the story or not, like maybe it wouldn't get into any festivals at all. And then I think I'd know I'd have to go back and really figure out what it is I'm writing. And I do know there are festivals that give notes and things as such, but I maybe did 1 or 2 of those with the egg and I submitted the egg and I out a lot too.
I think it just depends on what the end goal is for the project. I think that's an excellent way to engage with feedback. There's there's a million, you can send it to your friend, you can get script coverage. I think it really depends on the end goal with whatever project you're working on. But
or in a writing class. I'm in a writing class too that I've been in, for a while now. And it's probably one of the hardest classes I've ever taken. I always feel like I'm in like Harvard or Yale screenwriting class. I'm in this thing called Writers Boot Camp with Jeff Gordon. And I'm always like banging my head against the wall. But it seemed to have worked for me. So, and it seems to have worked, as hard as it is. But you get in a class like that, it's really going to challenge you a lot.
I think there's I was just thinking, because part of having it together, I just thought of a question, Nicole, like thinking back to working on 40ish, like was there, obviously you mentioned like the first day, but was there like a favorite moment that I don't think I've ever asked you that. Was there like a moment or a day that you really, that stood out to you?
I think it's that moment when it just felt so professional. And that is really on you, Traci, because everybody we pretty much hired was from your, or used, not hired so much, but we got a lot of favors, was from Traci's camp, and it was just like, I felt like I was walking onto and like a show I did, like a CSI or a Criminal Minds show, or a movie I might have worked on, a big budget situation. And I was really blown away by how it felt so real.
I remember,
you've tried to do other, I tried to do another thing with somebody else, and it did not go over that well.
Well, I
you
mean,
know?
it's really, you know, a testament to just, you know, having people that you rely on, that you trust. I think building that relationship. Um, I think I'm very grateful for all those people in my life. I think one thing that would be kind of fun to share before we go, that some people may not know about our film, is that we always cheat locations for different things. That's sort of the magic of filmmaking. But there was like, I swear, there was like 25 audition scenes in office casting, you know. I mean, there wasn't, I'm exaggerating, but there was a number, and we actually used the same room for multiple office spaces, and we just redressed them to look differently. And that was, you know, just having the creativity to think outside the box and utilize our, you know, resources and the time, and sort of plan all that. But that we, you know, we got very lucky that we ended up shooting where we shot, you know, and stealing some stuff on Hollywood Boulevard. Obviously, that's always a nightmare shooting down
And
there.
Beechwood Canyon
And Beechwood
and
Canyon, yeah, like the iconic Beechwood Canyon. You know, just going out there and doing it. You know, I think a lot of times it's like, you know, obviously within reason, obviously being safe about it. But yeah, we
I know,
were very
there was a
fortunate.
few things where our AD was like, you can't do that. And I was like, I have to. Like, I was like,
We ended up doing some reshoots too, actually, for the opening title sequence. We were in the editing room and realized we didn't really have everything we needed to really stitch together the montages. And that happens on I think that happens on every level, you know, whether it's a short, a feature. You know, I think it was just about getting the moment right, and kind of showing this person, Nicole's character, in this, you know, her life and how it changed. And so it was, you know, that was just something we did. That
yeah,
was,
the ending was new, by the way. It was
yeah, you wrote that.
a whole new, because yeah, I don't want to give it away in case anybody sees it, but the ending was actually not in the original script. So, and that was all improv, by the way, the whole ending car thing that was literally made up in the moment. Like I
I
had a
remember.
rough idea of what to do,
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to do, but it was nothing scripted. And
Yeah, we just Greg. I remember Greg is
you
like in
guys were in
the
the back
passenger
seat.
seat of the car, and he's got like he's such a good sport. I'll have to call him a week. But you know, I'm like in the back, like hiding, you know, in the car. Doing car shots is always a pain in the butt. But yeah, it's so fun, the creativity that comes out of problem solving, or when a problem comes up and you do run out of time, or, you know, just truly being flexible, and open to the moment. And like, what was truly the best comedic moment came out of you know, Nicole and I kind of being like, okay, you're going to get out of the car, it's going to be one shot, and that car really honked their horn at you, and that's okay, we're going to stop traffic to get our ending shot. And Greg is like, I don't think this is a good idea, and I'm like, it's a second, it'll be fine. You know, but it all
When
worked
you
out.
say it was unscripted, had you shot everything and you were just trying to figure out how to end the film when that happened, or at what point was that scene captured
During the reshoots,
during the
because
Yes,
reshoots?
that's right. That's
yeah,
right.
because
That's great.
I
Yeah.
had been in this writing class and it was just going to sort of end, you know, in a reality, you know, but this class really, I was like, well, there's got to be a payoff, or it's just going to be um
Yeah.
depressing. And who wants to spend 25 minutes watching something depressing? So I knew it needed that at the end, but I didn't know how, or yeah. And we were just doing some other reshoots throughout the course of the day. I had written a few notes down in my notebook, and
Mm-hmm.
I showed them to Traci, and we did them. I mean, I don't know. And then at the that was the very end thing that we did. And I was like, let me just do this one, drive up and down this street. I have this idea. And there was the phone call. The phone call was written, but we changed the phone call too.
Yeah, it was so interesting. Comedy, my background mostly is in dramatic, drama, thriller space, supernatural. So, taking on a comedy was such a fantastic challenge and opportunity to sort of like spread my wings, and I think what made 40ish like so many moments stand out in me to just truthfully just hilarious in its own right was just because it came from such a real, honest, truthful, sad, depressing place where you're just like, man, this is, we're not like you
This
just
is
can't
my life.
you just can't make that up. And but what's so encouraging is I'd still, Nicole, like I had an actress friend of mine reach out to me like a week ago just saying, I watched 40ish, like it was so, like I related so much. Like she's young, but she's sitting here watching you as this woman just dealing with these things, and no matter the age, I think it just struck a chord that, no matter the age, as women, we just going through those things and knowing you're not the only one sometimes is really the part that really people just need, that reassurance, But obviously, at the end of the day, you want people to be slightly entertained. I mean, it's a comedy, and goodness knows we all need to laugh a little more.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't wait to tell you about the thing that I have, the idea, which I've been writing after she goes.
Okay, see, this is what happens. Like we get so busy, Nicole, and we have to talk about our ideas on a live Zoom. I'm like,
It's
what's
so
happening?
funny though. It's so funny. It's crazy and funny. I'll tell you. I'll call you afterwards.
I love it. Oh my God. I know it's such a privilege to be together, her and I, talking about our experience with specifically with 40ish too. I think just we've had a number of opportunities, but not very many where we've been in the same sort of space in the time zone to be able to do this, and hopefully when it does finally premiere online, we'll have to share that link with women film projects, so people here can see it.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
We'd love to help get the word out about that when the time comes.
Yeah, so excited.
Yeah.
We love what you guys are doing. It's so great and cool. So thank you for making this happen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited to, keep sharing these stories and inspiring the next generation of filmmakers. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Any final words, final thoughts before we sign off?
Nicole, do you want to go first?
No.
Words of wisdom. No.
I think so. I think I'm going back to my day job as soon as I get off this. So just another day.
Just another day in life.
Another day to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say I'm just when I think it's just so incredible to be talking about these, what is important and things that, topical about ageism and sexism in our industry. And I think just being able to bring this up, obviously it's wrapped in this very comedic, fun package, but at the heart and at the end of the day, I think just remembering, to support other, specifically women that are, that you're working with, and to build each other up, and, try to be in a place where, we can support one another like we're doing right now. So I'm so grateful that you guys are championing other places and giving a platform for women to talk about their experiences. And I hope, somebody can take something away from today. So.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to have you guys here and to be that platform too for the two of you to be on a call together. That's exciting.
I know. I love it. I'm so glad that worked out. It was perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you.
Guys.
Awesome. I'm signing off. Thank you guys.
That was fun. It went by so fast.
All right, you guys.
Awesome.
Take it easy.
Okay.
Bye.